We didn't have the freedom we had when we were, I mean, unoccupied by the Japanese. We could go anywhere, do anything, but, you know, whether we like it or not, we had to follow the rules of the Japanese. We had curfew.
Oh, you did have
Oh,
curfew?
yes.
Okay.
They confiscated all the cars.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either you walk or you get on a calesa or carretela, which scared the living daylights out of me, and I'd rather walk than ride any of those darn things. So,
Did you
I
have a
mean, of
go-kart?
course, we went through a lot of hardships,
Mm-hmm.
regardless, you know, except that, like I say, if it happened to me now, I would die.
Yeah,
At that age, it was all a lot, it was a big joke.
it's an adventure.
It's a big joke.
Mm-hmm.
When the Americans came in, they burned our house down,
Mm-hmm.
down to the bottom. So there we were all cooped up in one house, 33 people. That's the family, Charito and Butch and her mother, Pepe and his son, us, Conchita and her husband and her children. Lourdes came in. Then Chocolito came in. So you can imagine what a mess it was. We had all of 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. Every time we had to take a bath, we had to go in 6 women at a time to save the time. Otherwise, you take a bath one by one, never finish the whole day. So things like that, you know, those are the inconveniences.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, when you have to go through that, you think you can't.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're faced with it, you do it.
Yeah.
Our food, of course, was
There were
lousy.
still
They confiscate
palenques.
everything that was good was confiscated by the Japanese.
Were there still palenques open, or?
Yeah, but they were selling horse meat, carabao meat.
Uh-huh.
My father got anthrax from eating the meat. It
Oh.
turned out it was infected carabao meat. So, I mean, you cannot say there'll be a war, and occupation is the worst phase of any war because the enemy takes over. They took over all our cars. We had 3 cars, 2 cars, I don't remember. My brother dismantled them, my brother Joe. He was a very good mechanic.
You know, looking back, now we know it was only 3.5 or so years.
4 years.
4 years. And, but at that time, you didn't know when it was going to end. And what did
No,
you...
we figured it would end, but we
Did
just
you?
didn't know when.
Yeah.
Because we knew that the Americans wouldn't just sit back and wait for it to end.
How
When
did you-
they mentioned about the atomic bomb, we figured it would end after that, and
Yeah,
it
but
did after.
before the atomic bomb, how did you? It was just faith and hope that kept you going there, thinking the Americans would come and
Of course,
rescue you.
we never lost hope that the Americans would cut back. In fact, my father had a big case of, what's the name of that? A, a, a ram something. And I said, what the heck are you keeping that box for when the Americans come back? So in other words, he himself was expecting. When the Americans were coming in from the north, the Japanese were running away from the south. There was cross bombing, and it was horrible. That was the most horrible period. Houses burning. We couldn't save anything. I saved my father's clothing, and I forgot to save mine. I had all of 1 dress left and 1 pair of slippers, because I saved all my father's clothes.
Now, Sampaloc is that north of the Pasig?
Yes.
So,
Where the worst area was where your mother was,
so
the south.
north was fairly
No.
safe?
It was not safe because
was it?
half of it, almost all of it was also raised down. The crossfiring, you know, bombs all over the top.
Right.
Fires here, fires there, no water, people running. Charito, Butch, and Carmen Rabago and I were all running, and there's bombs going over our heads, bullets going over our heads. How we survived, nobody knows. So, you know, if it's not your time, how we manage
How did you manage
to survive? It wasn't our hour to go. Even my father kept saying he was going to die, and he lived all throughout it, and long after that, he even was able to remarry. We had a lot of deprivation, you know. We didn't eat well. Tutit, the sister Dolores, got sick. She was a complete nervous wreck. She was full of, I don't know what kinds of things coming out. My father got anthrax. Everybody was undernourished. Everybody was sick. But we were still better off than a lot of other people who just had nothing. Nothing. My father, I don't know how he managed, but every day we had our meals. 3 meals. Of course, the rice was diluted with and mixed with kamote, icky. So I couldn't eat it, you know. So I would, Henry, the husband of Conchita, he was a big rice eater. He would make, you know, exchanges. You give me your rice, I'll give you this. But then, you know, like I said, if you're young, you can take all these things.
Now, do you remember Carlota and Gopal having a restaurant in New Delhi, New India?
Wait, no, it
Remember
wasn't India. I'm trying to think of the name. Yes, I remember that restaurant.
Remember that?
In fact, Nen and Piching worked for him.
Is that
I
right?
think they got fired because they're all playing hooky. And they were not meant to be waitresses, you
Oh,
know.
yeah, yeah.
My father almost had a fit when he found out that they applied and got hired.
Tita Piching said she worked there one day. One day.
She got fired
Now, do you know where that restaurant was?
in Escolta. No, not Escolta, somewhere in España.
España. Okay.
Yes.
Then later they
Because we
had-
were leaving Gastambide and that was in España later.
Later, they had a nightclub called the Bluebird.
Yeah, no, that wasn't your Gopal's.
Oh, it
That
wasn't.
was Baggy. You remember Baggy?
I think they do, yeah.
Yeah, because he hired me as his secretary, and then that stupid clerk of his was trying to flirt with me, a married guy, and I quit. I quit working. I couldn't stand
You were
him
working at the Bluebird also?
as the secretary only.
Ah.
I never went during the night. I just worked as a secretary during the. My father wouldn't allow it. Never, in fact, he didn't like it, but I was always the one trying to help him. I don't know why. Because I felt sorry for my father, you know. I felt sorry that he had to feed so many people, 33 people he was feeding, you know.
Yeah.
My God, that's no joke.
Family.
Well, my father built a new house,
He built a new house. Right?
yes. And then when we moved in there,
Was it on
I started working for the Americans.
Was it on the same spot, the same location?
Yeah, the same house, the same area where we were, because that lot was his.
Mm.
I started working as a secretary for Mr. McClellan in the, what's the name of that? It was a shipping company too.
Now, did your father go back to the...
Yeah, he went back to Maritima. They wouldn't let go of him. He was a darn good lawyer,
Yeah.
very good lawyer. She's gonna be like her grandfather, or else I'm gonna. My father was a darn good lawyer.
Excellent lawyer.
He was so good, even in court, they would accept it that he refused to talk English. All his cases were heard in Spanish. He had to have a translator, but they allowed it because he was a very good lawyer. He never had a case in English. He refused to talk English. He said he didn't know any English, which was a lie because he knew. He was a very serious man. Because according to him, his father told him that if he showed any emotion or love for his children, the children would lose respect for him. And I told him, your father is stupid old fool. Because that's the thing the children look for. It's love, attention. No wonder he was always so cold, you know. I was the only one who was not afraid of him. Well, my mother was very young. She was 14 years old when she got married. So she was like a little girl playing with other little girls. She would hide chocolates from us, buy all kinds of chocolates and candies, hide it on top of the aparador, and I would watch where she was watching them. And when she went out, because the doctor told her to take up something to keep her, because she's becoming a nervous wreck with so many children, so told her to start playing pangingi, or I don't know what the heck it was. And every time she went out to play pangingi, I would look all over and find all her candies. And when she came back, the candies were all gone. I would distribute it to everybody. ¿Dónde está mi candy? No sé. Carmen! No, I'm not the one.
So you were almost like almost like just friends instead of mother and daughter.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
My brother Joe was 15 years old, and she was 15 years old when she delivered my brother Joe. So they're like brother and sister. I think it was Teresa, Dolores, and I were playing, was that Ciclot, or you know, a game we have with shells.
Oh, okay.
And she had nothing to do. She's walking around in her see-through nightgown, was around us, and every time she came to me, I said, Conchita, will you please stop that? Play Ciclot. Turns around, goes behind me. You do that one more time and you'll be sorry. Third time, I got her nightgown from the bottom. Yeah! She comes naked with her panties. Lolo! Lolo Vicente, what happened? Carmen undressed me.